Hey, everybody, a very happy Monday evening to all of you in a week 10 of the NFL season. It is great to be with you tonight. This is easily, to me, the most interesting Texans game to break down following the result on Sunday afternoon, a 36-29 Texans win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, which has sent the Jacksonville side reeling, keeps the Texans side alive, and there's a lot both good and bad to get into from the Texans perspective. So it's great to be with all of you. We appreciate you tuning in tonight here on YouTube on the Texans Collective. I'm Sean Pendergast, one half of Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610. Yes, I have my Christmas tree up in the background. That's my wife, Amy, who's doing that stuff. So whatever you want to comment about in the chat room about putting your Christmas decorations up in early November.
That's real Brian Kelly of you to immediately throw your bride under the bus. That's nasty business, dude.
I'm here with my family. So we got a lot to get into here tonight, and Texans at 4-5 on the season. Sean Pendergast, one half of Payne and Pendergast, Sports Radio 610, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. To my right is Landry Locker, the Locker Room with Landry Locker, and of course SNL. And then right beneath him, Reggie Atatula, in the loop on Sports Radio 610, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then right there below me on the screen, Cody Stutes, Houston football with Cody Stutes and SNL as well here on the Texans Collective. Of course, you see right beneath all of us, Prize Picks. Get that promo code Texans. We'll get to that certainly here along the way, as there's plenty of reasons to download the Prize Picks app. But guys, this was a save the season win for the Houston Texans. I went back and rewatched the game today, and I'm watching the first half. I'm like, I can't believe this is the same event that took place at the same time as the fourth quarter of this football game, which keeps the Texans in the hunt right now here in the playoff picture in the AFC. And there's a lot to dig into here, probably chief of which is Davis Mills and what he did in the fourth quarter. But there's a lot going on here right now. So let's dig right into it. And Davis Mills in the fourth quarter of this football game, guys, if there are at least 5 or 6 junctures in that fourth quarter that if they go the other way, we're sitting here tonight talking about a 3-6 football team and probably starting to preview mock drafts within about a week or two. One of the more incredible wins, I think, in recent Houston Texans history.
Yeah, I think it was the best quarterback performance that the Texans have had this season. I think you might have to go back to October of last year, perhaps CJ Stroud against Buffalo, or the week before that against Jacksonville, to get as good of a quarterback performance as we saw. That's not to say that Davis Mills is better than CJ Stroud. I don't think anyone could say that with a straight face, but I think as far as the performance, when you actually watch the game, when you factor in everything that he went through, the whole right side of the offensive line was out. He was avoiding sacks. He was avoiding pressure. You mentioned that fourth quarter. He was elite where their weakness has been all season long, which was in the red zone. I think he displayed toughness. He had basically a softball lump in his arm, and he was able to play through that. It was the best quarterback performance that the Texans have gotten this season, and they really, really, really needed it. You mentioned the fourth quarter, Sean. I really think if you really go back and look at it, as soon as they went down 17-0, they didn't go down 17-0 because of Davis Mills. They went down 17-0 because of special teams. I think that there's kind of a tendency where people are defensive about the quarterback, which I understand. So there's one side that's saying Davis Mills should start now, and then there's another side that's kind of minimizing what he did. If CJ Stroud did what Davis Mills did yesterday, I think we'd be saying the same thing. I think we'd be asking, okay, was this up there with the Tampa Bay game? Was this up there with the Cincinnati game? So I think it's just you cannot minimize how good he was, because after they went down 17-0, there was one drive where they didn't come away with points, and it was probably maybe his best pass of the day that Dalton Schultz dropped before they didn't convert on fourth down. I thought Davis Mills was fantastic. I think the quarterback performance was great, and I think that's what you want from your backup quarterback. He sets the table and gives CJ Stroud, when he gets back, an opportunity to play for something, and the season still matters. There's still something to play for.
I largely agree with you, and I hate that I have to be in this. I don't have to. I put myself in this place. I'll accept responsibility. I'm going to quibble with you on a few points. I'd probably go with his best throw being the one that he throws over the middle to Nico Collins right over the head of a linebacker. Maybe y'all agree, maybe not. That's fine. And I will definitely quibble with the idea that it was not his responsibility that they went down 17-0. Now, I will not take away special teams' responsibility. I went and looked at like what killed those first 5 drives of the game. You obviously interception, drive 1. 2 was Traymon Smith fumble on the kick return. There's a comedy of errors on drive 3 where there's a hold, but he also fumbles the snap on second down, which then allows the Jaguars to get busy with a stunt that leads to a sack. 4th drive, he was a delay of game, which, hey, quarterback, right? And then in addition to that, there was another game that led to a sack. And then series 5 was when they get into the red zone and he has a couple of wasteful throws. So, I mean, he's a part of that. I'm not going to put it all squarely on his shoulders. And I think I only say that to then come back around and go, he was really good on the bounce back from all of that. Like, he was incredible. In fact, and the thing that I took away in rewatching this game was he wasn't perfect, right? But he was resilient. And I thought that was the thing that was really incredible. There were some plays where you either had like an errant pass or just something went wrong. And then the very next play, here you go with a very good play from I keep wanting to call him Dalton Schultz, from Davis Mills. And I thought that was like all you could ask for from a quarterback in that moment is to not get scared, not be rattled, stand in and do what needs to be done. And in the face of what the game that we were watching, where at points in this, I said that I did not want to be here, right? He very much changed the entire atmosphere and environment of that. And so kudos and fair play to a Davis Mills, a backup that, some people look at and they go, why is he here? This is why.
That's one of the best backup performances across the NFL so far this season. I mean, when you factor in what he didn't have, who he was working with, and then the hole that the team, however you want to phrase it or however it got there, the hole that the team had to work from, it's one of the best backup quarterback performances. And I know there were some throws early on and there was some conversation and some thought. And heck, I even had it like, they really gave this guy $7 million for next year, huh? Well, seems like they got a deal. Like when he went out there and took care of his business, they score on 4 or 5 red zone trips. They score on every real drive except for the one with the Dalton Schultz drop to finish the game. It was a really impressive performance from Davis Mills. And I love the ability to navigate in the pocket as well. Like this was not a perfect offensive line performance, though they had some guys who finally got opportunities that played well. Davis Mills had to maneuver and adjust and get out of the way of things and operate in a sometimes messy situation. And then once they got going, they never really looked back, and he operated it at a really high level. And that's kind of the interesting thing about his performance is, man, he could have been even better. If some of those high throws come down a little bit, if he doesn't make this mistake or that mistake, like he might have been even better than what he looked like yesterday. And he joins an illustrious group of Texans quarterbacks. Only he, CJ Stroud, and Deshaun Watson have ever thrown for over 285, two touchdowns, and rushed for a touchdown. One of these things, well, you get it.
I get it. He's white.
Yeah, to me, like the things
he's a backup.
Oh, my bad.
The things that
I
jumped
figured
out.
I had to make the joke. Sorry.
The things that jumped out to me about Davis Mills in the fourth quarter, I thought it was that all 3 touchdowns scored by the offense in the fourth quarter were all on third down. And obviously they were in a point in the game where they were going to go for it on fourth down every time, but that you didn't put yourself in a position where it was you make this or the game is over. So I thought that 3rd and 10 to Jaden Higgins, I thought it was really interesting that the first 2 touchdowns came after they had to call a timeout to avoid a delay of game. I don't know if that means anything, but I was infuriated both times they did that, especially the first time where I'm like, man, what's the difference between 3rd and 10 at the 12 or 3rd and 15 at the 17-yard line? You're going to need these timeouts probably later in the game. It turns out they didn't, because Nick Kelly, I thought, did a masterful job on that last drive of managing the clock and using the run game to grind the clock down to next to nothing. But I thought that all 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter came on third down. I think is significant that Davis Mills, look, we've not seen Davis Mills hasn't started a game in over 2 years. And certainly in those games, those first 2 years that he was the quarterback, we were not seeing him in any sort of situation that was anything close to as significant as all the situations that we saw him in the fourth quarter of this football game. Those two teams he was starting for in 21 and 22, they were playing for draft position. It would have been better if he was failing in that situation than if he was succeeding. So that he was succeeding on third down on all three of those touchdowns, I thought was significant. But even beyond that, I thought the two most important throws of the game was the 4th and 2 to Jalen Noel when they were still down 19 deep in Jaguar territory. And then, man, the 3rd and 10 where they were backed up on their own 7 because special teams gave up a kick return to midfield, which essentially conceded that, hey, even if we get a 3 and out, we're probably going to start inside our own 10, which they did. That 3rd and 10 to Dalton Schultz from their own 7-yard line, which was the sort of the gateway to that 14-play drive that ended up taking the lead in the game. Man, those were two impressive throws. I thought it was a great play call by Nick Caley on the 4th and 2 where he used that motion with Jalen Noel, the kind of that jagged motion where he goes left, goes right, goes back, and then he's wide open. And then the 3rd and 10 to Dalton Schultz, which was to me a much harder throw than Davis made it look at the time. He had guys in his face, and he's kind of throwing it back from the left side across to the right side with a defender on Dalton Schultz. I could not be more impressed with the clutch. Davis Mills made more clutch plays that mattered in the fourth quarter of this football game than he's probably made in his entire Texans career prior to this game, just based on the sheer significance of this game.
Yeah, and it almost feels like when people praise Davis Mills, they almost have to do it apologetically. Like Cody's coming out and saying, well, it was a good performance for a backup. Like, no, it was a good performance for anything. Like if Patrick Mahomes did what Davis Mills did yesterday, it would be a good performance. I don't know why there's like there's like an undertone with praising Davis Mills because I don't get it. Look, this is the reality. People keep the question is like, how does CJ Stroud handle going down 17-0? We've seen his body language on the sideline this season, and it hasn't been great. Davis Mills kept his composure the entire time. As soon as they went down 17-0, they drove down the field. And here's the other thing. Would the Texans have won this game with CJ Stroud? I don't know, but I will say if only they had played this team before this season and we had like some sort of way to like look at how CJ Stroud performed against this exact team. Oh, we do. He threw a couple of interceptions. He barely broke 200 yards, and he wasn't great. Like, I think this. It doesn't have to be minimized what Davis Mills did. CJ Stroud, hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he plays Sunday. Hopefully he plays against Buffalo. But yes, Davis Mills had some bad. I also think Davis Mills avoided some sacks that I think are sacks from what I've seen before the start of this season. Like there's like a one-sided gray area with Davis Mills. He missed some throws. Those have been missed all year at the quarterback position. He also kind of avoided some sacks that I don't know get avoided. And he also did something in the fourth quarter that the Texans have done literally worse than any other team in the league. So CJ's still the guy. CJ's still going to be the guy that decides how they play. But I don't think, Cody, you have to minimize what Davis Mills did by saying it's a good performance for a backup. This is a good performance for anyone. If any quarterback did what Davis Mills did, he throws the interception, it's just a 3-point consequence, and then his special teams put him behind 17 points, and he comes out there and does that. It's a good performance for anyone, not just a backup.
Yeah, I'm not minimizing what he did. I'm just telling you he's going to go back to being a backup quarterback when this is as soon as the starting quarterback gets healthy. So in a year where the backup quarterback has had to try and go save seasons for people, Davis Mills has among one of the best ones amongst his backup quarterback brethren, which is where he'll remain as soon as CJ Stroud's head is healthy.
Which is where he should be. He is a backup quarterback. I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying that was a good performance regardless of how you look at it.
I do love that we all the undercurrent of this is, do we want to have the quarterback controversy conversation? Like I think we are all very happy with the Davis Mills performance. Just the conversation, the framing is, are you willing to have the quarterback controversy conversation? Even if ultimately you're going to get to the place where I think we all are, which is CJ Stroud is the starter.
No,
look, these two are closer than they should be, though. Like CJ should be blowing this guy out of the water when he's in there, and he hasn't. So, I mean, now we have a new level of expectation that CJ Stroud's got to play to when he gets back into this lineup. Because if Davis Mills can do it with that mishmash offensive line that they threw out there, then why can't CJ Stroud do it? I mean, look, the other offensive explosion game was against Baltimore. I would tell you that this Jaguars team that stepped on the field was more equipped than that Baltimore game and that Baltimore team in that game. But yeah, it's closer between Davis Mills and CJ Stroud than it should be. So, hey, go and separate yourself a little bit when you get back into the saddle, CJ.
Wait, if we're doing this versus the Baltimore game, didn't they put up like 44 in that game? Like that. The thing I will say though, and tell me if you guys like agree with this in any way, shape, or form. Like I was surprised that even with the it was absolutely mishmash on the offensive line. They didn't really feel to have very much teeth here, the Jags, particularly in pass rush. It did feel like this line in mismatched fashion eventually, once they found a level, actually did a pretty damn good job in this game.
Yeah.
Well,
and I also wonder, and I think it's funny because you can see in the chat, shout out to everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe, right along, all that type of stuff. Can the quarterback make the offensive line better? Like, I don't know what's happening pre-snap. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Davis Mills is seeing stuff, but like, can the quarterback make the offensive line better? Because I'm hearing about this offensive line. Look, they had like, first of all, they did a weird ass experiment the first two series that was probably the dumbest decision that I've ever seen a coaching staff make at this point in the season. I don't know what Sidney So was doing out there. I will say this: we saw it last week in practice, me and Stutz, and we briefly mentioned it on SNL. And we were talking to someone else in the media about it. And we were like, surely this is just that they're not really going to do this. And then all of a sudden he gets elevated and we saw it. And whoever made the decision, they either decided it was dumb as hell after two series or whoever made the decision was told, hey, you can't do it. Whatever the hell happened, they decided against it at the time. And you also had the whole right side of the line. So, but I do wonder, like, how much does Davis Mills have to do with the offensive line being better? We talk about all this control before the snap and all this type of stuff. Like, did Davis Mills have that? And was Davis Mills doing a good job at that? I don't know the answer to it. I'm just asking the question because for some reason it did feel like the offensive line looked a little bit better, I guess. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, I would also apply the same caveat that we did for San Francisco a couple of weeks ago when they had a decent day. It's one of the more toothless pass rushes that you face all year long. I mean, they came in with the least sacks in football. The Jaguars did, but the same thing I said with San Francisco, you've had nobodies come in here and light them up in previous years. That DeMeco Ryans has been the head coach. So the fact that no Jaguars went in there and really lit them up that you never heard of, it's a good job by the offensive line. And they had some moving pieces that they had to deal with, unfortunately, because I'm assuming two people with a former New England area code decided to play a third guy who used to have a New England area code.
Yeah, that's wild. So what do you guys think? I want to get to the defense here in a little bit yesterday because I feel like they're getting a little bit lost in the shuffle. They were as crucial to the fourth quarter as the offense was getting the ball back to them. But as long as we're talking about the offensive line, and I don't know what it's going to look like this week because, you know, Titus is still in concussion protocol. So we don't know. I mean, Titus is obvious. Whatever the 5 is, Titus Howard is going to be part of that 5. It's a question of where. Once he's healthy, based purely on what we've seen so far, what do you guys think the 5 looks like? If they had to put a 5, Titus gets out of concussion protocol. Let's pretend that for a second. What does the 5 look like, do you think, for this Titans game this coming weekend?
I don't know if Trent Brown's going to be able to play, but I mean, I would think you keep him in there and ride it as long as you can. I actually have to eat when Cody was at his fast food order in an hour because I said Trent Brown wouldn't play over 35 snaps in a game this year, and he did.
What's he at now? He sailed past it yesterday, right?
Oh, he doubled it, but he had to get an X-ray on his foot, and he's a little bit nicked up. So yeah. I think if Trent Brown can play, I think you probably put him at tackle and put Titus at guard and continue this shuffling. But that's just me. Maybe Trent Brown rests and then we see him return a little bit later. I don't know.
So
maybe
wild.
you play chess. Well, maybe you play some chess where it's like, you know, Trent Brown's not going to be able to play 2 games in 5 days. So you let him rest this Sunday and hope he can come back Thursday. I don't know. But if everyone was healthy, I would have Trent Brown at tackle and I would put Titus Howard back at guard. And we would do yet another offensive line shuffle.
I think I agree. And that's based off, even though I think I can just tell that Titus doesn't love playing guard. I know he'll give the lip service, but the way that the coaching staff and front office will consistently really kiss his feet on the idea that he had the wherewithal to go ahead and make the move. Really tells me that they're asking him to do a solid. That being said, he's played guard before and he's worked at it. I mean, this would be him at left guard though, right? And I do find that interesting for one reason, which is giving Ariante Ursary somebody that like is comfortable to play right next to. Like Tay has been really good when it comes to being a rookie offensive tackle on that left side. Giving him somebody solid would be nice, but again, the shuffle, I feel uncomfortable with it just off of the strength of it, and because I feel like with the decisions that they've made, there's been a lot of times where I have not been happy with it. So having them have to make more decisions makes me uncomfortable. I could easily see the idea where you just go back to something that feels stable. Maybe just keep Jared Patterson doing that, since apparently for some reason, all of a sudden out of nowhere, he's above Lakin and Juice Scruggs.
Yeah, they've lost any credibility when it comes to the offensive line. They lost it with their approach from the offseason to the left guard, rotation within games to now the latest evidence that they have just throwing stuff at the wall, which is City So getting an opportunity there at right guard. Look, to me, Trent Brown's my right tackle until his season's over. Now, maybe his season's finish coincides with your season's finish, and maybe it doesn't, but Trent Brown would be my right tackle until his season's over. And earlier this year, they had every design and plan to play Titus Howard at right guard. They felt strongly about him at right guard ahead of Ed Ingram. I would play Titus Howard at right guard. And then at left guard, I would play Jared Patterson. Who knows what they're going to do? Hell, they might have a 3-man rotation at left guard between Patterson, Scruggs, and Lakin Tomlinson. So I don't know what they do at left guard. I just play Patterson. I don't know why they all forgot that he was the top left guard choice for them last year when they wanted to bench Kenyon Green. But, but I'd play Titus at right guard and I'd play Trent Brown at right tackle until his season's over. And then I just have Titus ready to go back out to right tackle if Trent Brown ever can't go.
How wild is it that the only solidified things that we've got in this entire hypothetical debate that we've got going on is the second round rookie at left tackle and the dude who started one game. By the way, I mean, if they want to move Jared Patterson to center and put him there and then figure out guard also, I would be totally cool with that. Jake Andrews
here for it.
I'm saying
I'm very tired of seeing 60 in the quarterback's lap. I really am.
Yeah. But in this particular 5 minutes of conversation we've had, it's right tackle, right guard, left guard, and the two guys that we haven't talked about yet are the center that started one game and the guy who was playing in Minnesota University this time last year.
I think the solution to get Jared Patterson at center, I think he needs to come to practice tomorrow or Wednesday, like eating clam chowder or something like that. Like just do something.
Red Sox hat.
Yeah, maybe like just come there. Just come there with like a whole thing of clam chowder and have Goodwill Hunting on your phone or something like that, to where maybe you get like some of that New England love. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's that would be my approach if I were Jared Patterson.
Nick Caley, do you like apples?
They're wicked good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But the offensive line thing is crazy. And I will say this. I do think there's a chance that Davis Mills might have actually saved Nick Caserio or Nick Caley's job, because it's not just losing to Jacksonville. It's if you do a goofy experiment like that and it ends up backfiring and you get out to a 17-0 and you end up losing, like it's basically highlighting every reservation that they have about you, where the offensive line's a disaster. You do some crazy things and you kind of have a weird New England bias. So I do think I don't know that like Nick Caserio gets fired today, but it would be like the ultimate, like, okay, well, it's increased. And I don't think all is right because of this win. I just think it's kind of saved. Maybe you're kicking the can down the road and we figure out, we see a little bit of what we saw, but I do think the manner in which they chose to start that game could have been like borderline damn near. And Cody, you brought this up, fireable for Nick Caserio.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out like who's losing their job if this thing gets totally out of hand. It's 17-0. The offense to that point has not shown you much. The defense has tried their best to keep the Jaguars off the scoreboard, and the special teams has fallen apart. And it's like, okay, if this ends up 34-3, like who gets escorted out of the building Monday morning, and what press conference are we having Tuesday on the off day to talk about it? Like that was kind of my thought process. And then they sort of just ripped it away from, disaster and found a way to get a victory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I'm Landry. I'm with what you just said right there. Like, yeah, they won this game 36-29, but none of the stuff that was making it go wrong. I would say this, like the interception early and the special teams mistakes, those feel like outliers to me. Like, I don't feel like Frank Ross's special teams all of a sudden are trash because of this game.
They've been slipping lately, though. It is worth noting that special teams production has been slipping.
It's been kind of a 2-year fall off where it was top 2 in DVOA, and then last year it was meh, and then it fell off a little bit, and this year it's been a little sus.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to give up punt returns for touchdowns and routinely kickoff returns to the 50 and stuff like that. I say all that to say the stuff that was going on with the decision making on the offensive side of the ball, as they're making that comeback, I'm like, I still can't get past the fact that City South started this game and played the whole first quarter. To the extent where I thought Juice Scruggs came in literally at the beginning of the second quarter of this game. I'm like, must have been a suspension of some sort. There had to be a disciplinary issue with Juice Scruggs that would lead the team to take a practice squad guy and leap them over everybody to put him at right guard and have him play like that, and then put Juice Scruggs in at the beginning of the second quarter. I don't know that to be the case, but that's what it felt like to me in watching it. I'm like, God, there had to be a reason. Not that Juice Scruggs is, Walter Jones or anything like that, but he ain't City Sal.
Compared to City So, he is
yeah.
Walter Jones.
Yeah. Is Sal or So? Is it So?
It's City So.
Exactly.
City So.
No, that's the point. That is exactly the point, right? Like, we don't know his name, and he would have to have played miles better in order to justify that kind of like. We all understand the talent level that this offensive line and this offensive line room has is not to the standard that we would prefer. Even with that being the case, he was subpar. And it just does not make sense how I understand D'Amico's like they're making decisions off of things that we aren't privy to. Sure, those things got to be crazy in order for that decision to be made. Like, let's be honest.
Let's get on the defense a little bit, guys, because we've been talking about the offense quite a bit, the plays that Davis Mills made, some of the decisions that they made. The defense being able to not just get off the field in those possessions in the fourth quarter of this football game. First of all, I feel bad for the defense that there's 29 points that have now been assigned to them in this game when they're in that race for top defense in the NFL from a scoring standpoint, because A, 7 of those points were due to a punt return, and B, 3 of the scoring drives started from the Texans 19, the Texans 40, and then that turnover on downs, which is around the 40-yard line. And then 40-yard line of the Jags in Jags territory. So 3 of the scoring drives were short fields. But the defense in the fourth quarter of this game not only came up big in terms of getting off the field, but 3 and out, minus 4 yards, only 2 minutes off the clock, 2 minutes, 12 seconds. And then the next one, after the Texans went up 29-24, 3 and out, 6 yards, a minute 19 off the clock. An incomplete pass on third down was huge in that series. Literally in a game where the Texans had to find a way in the last 13 minutes of the game to make up a 19-point deficit, the defense was able to get off the field and not allow plays to let the Jags change field position, to let the Jags burn clock. I mean, hell, the Texans got the ball back on the game-winning drive with 6 minutes left. I mean, the Texans were kind of, even though they were behind, kind of dictating terms on that drive with the way they were able to run the football and kind of methodically move the ball down the field. And yet still with Cam Little's right leg, even getting the ball back with 30 seconds, it was really nerve-wracking. But the defense, once again, I love that the defense had a performance like this in a game where ultimately the offense was able to reward them with going and actually getting points in this game.
Yeah, and I think that one of the key moments was Derek Stingley. Like, you give away 17 points and then you basically steal 3 points at the end of the first half.
Yep.
So I think that it didn't cancel out the damage that was done by special teams, but it helped. Daniil Hunter, obviously the best player on the field yesterday. The defense and the offense, they did their part, and I think this defense is. I mean, it can keep you in. It can keep you in as many games as possible. It's going to travel. They're going to handle business. They're probably going to be playing better quarterbacks than Trevor Lawrence. Let's just be honest. That's another thing. Like, if you look at the numbers head to head between Trevor Lawrence and Davis Mills, 3 of his 6 career wins are against Trevor Lawrence. I just can't believe that this defense was able to do what they do. I also can't believe that God, I feel like I say this all the time, and I'm sure there's like some credit to Nico that goes to this, but the way that the Jags attacked the Texans on their second drive of the second half, I don't know why everyone doesn't try to get Azeez and Henry To'oTo'o and Bridge and even Petrie more often. It just feels like they do them favors because there is a clear weakness. But the craziest thing is the defense, as good as they are, they still miss a lot of tackles. And there's still times where it's just like a little bit frustrating. But in that fourth quarter, I think the Jags ran 9 plays and they had 1 net yard. And the Texans were able to get off the field as quick as possible and make the playoff or make the comeback possible.
Yeah, and I think the additional wrinkle that we should note, the dude who should have been a starting safety and honestly was a second choice safety at the start of the season got injured, and they had to roll with a somewhat hampered defensive backfield. They end up with Tremont Smith on the outside and Kamari Lassiter, and it doesn't nothing slows down. This defense does a damn good job. And I mean, look, we can wax poetic, and I know that we will. I would like to step in a kind of a continued opportunity because I know you mentioned missed tackles. I do want to salute some made tackles here. Caleb Bullock, right? Even though he did miss a big tackle on a 3rd and 17 that ultimately kept the drive going, that felt very much like this was going to happen all over again. He also had a couple of game savers that we don't necessarily that kind of easily get missed or lost to history. I think in the second quarter, there was like a run that was just, he was last line of defense. And if he does not get an ankle tackle there, that's 7, right? How much does this game change if that drive that ultimately is a field goal is 4 points or the game change if that, those 4 points are there? There's another tackle out in space. I believe that's the ETN. It might have been the ETN dump off to the right side, if memory serves, where, oh no, it's not the ETN dump off. It's a Parker Washington, blown coverage or whatever you want to call it, miscommunication, where Derek Stingley completely loses him and Parker Washington is in space. And again, Caleb Bullock is there to make that final tackle where, again, that drive ultimately is a field goal as opposed to a touchdown. I want to give him credit because I felt like he was a relatively quiet but big part in making some of those plays. And I guess maybe that's the defense as a whole. Like there's always a guy here or there making a big play, but it doesn't stand out because all of them are at various different points.
Reggie would be a great roommate because you could eat half of his leftovers and he'd be like, well, at least you'd eat the other half. I like that. It's good stuff for Reggie. Look, that third quarter defensive drive where Bullock had the missed tackle on the backup tight end. Like that's the third tight end for the Jaguars, by the way. Whatever his name is. Yeah. It's like when you miss that tackle, that's awful. Azeez got picked on. Henry got picked on. That was, to me, really the only time the defense just looked like they didn't have any chance. And then to have what they had in the fourth quarter after that performance on that drive was really impressive. It was a really good job by them to force a field goal twice on that first one because of Nico Autry's unnecessary roughness penalty. That was a really good job. Obviously, eventually, when you get those short fields, you're going to give up a touchdown here or there. But they had some really nice, just on the edges where, if it doesn't go this way, then that comeback's even more difficult than it looked like it ended up being. And it was already a pretty difficult comeback. So Landry said it 100 times, and it's remains the same. It's their superpower, and they turn it on, and when they're on and they've got it dialed in and locked in, it's really hard to move the football against them. Matt Stafford's still the high in passing yards from a quarterback against them this year, 245 in week 1. They've allowed less than 200 passing yards to the opposing quarterback 3 straight games and 5 times total this season.
Well, and I hope they spend the next 5 years figuring out what to do with Trevor Lawrence. I hope that Trevor Lawrence is in Jacksonville for a long, long time. There is never a point in any Jacksonville game. I'm not saying he hasn't had good games against the Texans. D'Amico's first year, that game where they moved to 8-3 on the season, the Jags, the Matt Amendola hit the crossbar game. Trevor Lawrence had 360 yards passing in that game. That's fine. And I know Trevor Lawrence had a stretch at the end of 2022 where he played some good football. If we're sitting here with a $55 million a year quarterback parsing out little chunks of a couple of seasons in his 5 years that he's been in the league, that's a bad signing. They can have Trevor Lawrence on that team for as long as they fucking want to have him on that team. There is zero about him that feels, the only thing that feels threatening about Trevor Lawrence is what we saw in the very last drive where the pocket breaks down a little bit and they lose track of him and he goes and he gets 25 yards with his legs. Like that's the only time. Trevor, watch the games this year as they were building that 5-3 record coming into Sunday. The only times that Trevor Lawrence was doing things that people were giving him credit for was when he was using his legs to do it. He is not a good passer of the football. He is not a good decision maker in the pocket. If you take away his first read and you keep him in the pocket, great things happen for your football team if you're on defense. So they can keep him. Dude, retire his number. Keep him there for the next 10 years. No threat if Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's funny because, and this was weird, you can ask Cody, I did say this. The moment that I knew that Jacksonville really wasn't for real was after the Chiefs win. Because it was a wacky ass, like even when it was like should have been
down at the goal line.
Should have thrown 2 picks on the drive, and then he throws a perfect dime, and then he trips and falls on himself, and he gets up and runs in. I told Cody, I was like, yeah, I don't think they're for real. He's like, I mean, they just beat the Chiefs. I'm like, dude, that was the most, because even Daniel Jeremiah said that was the drunkest game-winning drive I've ever seen in my entire life. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, this is the high for them. But even in that, you just saw just how wacky ass like the Trevor Lawrence experience can be. And I'm not sitting here saying that from a high horse. Obviously CJ needs to get above that to where when you're paying him. So I'm not sitting here saying that the Texans aren't in jeopardy of perhaps paying someone that is not elite at this point, assuming CJ doesn't get better. But Trevor Lawrence, it's not it. He doesn't seem to have a feel. Like even the interception that Stingley had, they're just those types of plays always happen with Trevor Lawrence, and it's not happening. And I do wonder, I wonder how Liam Cohen actually feels about Trevor Lawrence, because he's not the one who paid him. I heard Sam and Steve bring this up today on Check the Mic, which is one of my favorite shows to listen to for like recaps and stuff. Like Liam Cohen comes from the place where they said, okay, Jared Goff's not good enough. We're going to go get Matthew Stafford. So I do wonder if there's like kind of a feel there where it's just like, I don't know about this. Cause he has been pretty critical of him, but yeah, I'm with you, Sean. If Trevor Lawrence is the guy and they're paying him $55 million, then have at it.
Have at it. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, you guys said it all with Trevor Lawrence. It feels like that's just the dude who you were given this gift, so you got to wear it a few times to make it seem like you appreciate it, and then you'll figure out what you're going to go do afterwards. But yes, that is a great appreciation that I have that the Texans had that as their particular matchup here in this game, because, of course, that makes this lot more viable. Because, I mean, the text is going wild with talking about as good as this defense is, the places where you can attack it, and absolutely T-Law did not maximize the opportunities that he could have to stifle out this Texans comeback. And now they are firmly in the crosshairs of a team that is in the hunt, because you're only a game down from the Jags.
Yep, no doubt. All right, let's get into the coaching ups and downs in just a second here. But Cody, you want to take the people through Prize Picks here right now and tell the people how they can win a lot of money just by picking more or less on some player stats?
Yeah, Prize Picks is so much fun and it's so easy to do. It's just really player predictions. You're going more or less on stats that these players have, and it's just very simple. More or less on rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns scored, rushing and receiving yard touchdowns. It's very simple. It's a lot of fun. Use the code Texans. When you get signed up, you're going to play your first 5. You're going to get $50 headed your way. And as Sean mentioned, you get all your predictions correct, and you're going to win some money. Or if you rely on Reggie, you're going to come up just a tiny bit.
Oh, that was harsh. Oh, is that our lineup from last week?
2 yards.
Man.
2 yards. And the thing that really upset me more than anything, it's the very last handoff. It's like second down in that very last drive that the Jags had, and he gets 3 yards. And I'm just like, one fewer handoff, or just one more tackle that's not missed, and we're in the money. So
yeah, a bit of a bummer there, but yeah. So use that code Texans to get signed up with Prize Picks, okay? And then on the community page of this channel, we'll post our picks later in the week, so you can follow along, or you can figure out which one Reggie picked and go opposite.
Well, the great thing about Prize Picks is you have a choice. You can either go with that power move where if you get all 4 right, you get a big payout, or if you want to play a little conservative and you're partnering with Reggie, you can get 3 out of 4 right and still win a little bit of money. You know, that's available on Prize Picks.
I can't even be mad. You're right.
Yeah, so that's our friends at Prize Picks. Get signed up. Use that code that we have there for you, Texans. When you get signed up, play your first 5, you get $50 instantly right into your account. And if you follow Reggie, you don't even have to win that first one to get that $50. Yeah, he's got to hit a winner this week now.
It's going to be one of us all season long, so it's just Reggie this week. It's
fine. I'll own it, man.
Wear it, Reggie. That's what you got to do. All right, here on the Texans Collective. All right, man, I rewatched that game today, and rewatching the first quarter between what was happening on the field, some of the decisions that were being made, some of the botches on special teams. I'm like, I can't believe I'm watching the same game. I can't believe this quarter of football that I'm watching existed in the same, to use a magnificent Gladstone word, ecosystem that existed with the Texans' fourth quarter that they had. Coaching ups and downs. What do you guys think the best thing that was happening in that game, or that happened in that game coaching-wise, and then the worst thing that happened in that game coaching-wise?
I mean, obviously the offensive line shuffle was weird. I thought there was a weird challenge by Nico as well. I thought that was an interesting decision by Nico. I really didn't like saving 5 yards on 3rd and 3, especially after you'd already scored in 3rd and 10. I think timeouts are too valuable. That could go either way, and ended up working out fine as a result. But the best coaching, I think, just the overall game by Nick Caley. Like, God knows that when Nick Caley sucks, we talk about it, but I thought Nick Caley called a hell of a game. But to start with the offensive line they started with, I think it's a very easy answer there.
Yeah, and one of the things that I absolutely loved, I'll actually give a little love to Matt Burke. It shows up in the last drive is it the last drive? I believe the last drive in particular. No, the second to last drive. Sorry. You had a couple of instances where they have Stingley and Hunter working to the inside, and they do it a couple different ways. One of them, you bring a Miles Bryant off of blitz off of his right side to allow him to dip inside without losing contain, and boom, here he goes, tackle for loss. And then the next play on a 3rd down, you have him work to the middle with, I believe, Nico Autry kind of working outside. And again, here you are right in the middle, pressure up the middle, which quarterbacks hate, and you're able to end this drive. Obviously, it's in these circumstances in the fourth quarter where you got to get 3 and out. And then more importantly, you know, it's a passing down. But I thought they did a fantastic job taking an already great night from Stingley Hunter, where he's clearly a menace, and accentuating that to a different level. But of course, it's a superpower. This is what they do incredibly well. So I did want to give the defensive coaching a level of credit, while also, you know, figuring out the way to shuffle their defensive backs once they lost yet another one. There's
just a couple of player in this position that I don't love. And then there was some player in this position that I do love. Look, and maybe some of this is just Davis Mills, but 15 targets for Nico Collins is a great game plan. I don't care how many catches. It's a great game plan. Throw it to him 15 times. It's a career high, and it's obviously a season high this year for Nico Collins. And then right behind him, 11 targets for Dalton Schultz. That's good. Jaden Higgins outsnaps Xavier Hutchinson. That's good. Jalen Dole gets, almost 2.5 times his amount of snaps from the previous week. That's good. Tremont Smith and Damian Pierce returning kicks. That's bad. Don't do that. Don't have those players there. You have Jalen Dole. You have Braxton Berrios. That's what they do. That's what they practice throughout the week. Put them back there. Don't put Tremont Smith and Damian Pierce back there. Put the more dynamic and reliable guys back there. Why is it a pain in the ass to get Tommy Togiai on this field sometimes? Like there was a moment in that game where they threw him in there in some situations where they typically don't have him, and he felt like kind of like a stabilizing force for that interior defensive line, which D'Amico Ryans gave so much credit to today when he was talking about how good the edges played. He's like, well, they can only play that good because the interior plays well. Yeah, why is it so hard to get Togiai on the field? We've talked about the offensive line shuffle, some of the questionable decisions. We don't have to rehash that. And as far as the coaching up, hey, they said they were going to change things in the red zone, and that's exactly what they did. They didn't smash their brain into the wall that was unable to get a yard up the middle. They had big-ass Ariante Ursary out there, and they had Woody Marks running behind him and found their way into the end zone. Good job.
It is wild, some of the things that it feels like we as average people go, you should do more of this. And then it takes them like 2 weeks to figure out, like after we're saying it, that they do it, whether it's personnel, hey, you need to play the rookies more. And then like 2 weeks later, they're playing the rookies more and they're all contributing. But the same thing, I turned to Seth. I'm like, okay, they're down at the 2. Like, maybe they should run the ball outside this week. And then they run the pitch to Woody Marks. I'm like, hey, look at that. It worked. I shouldn't be the one coming up with solutions that they can't come up with. So, yeah, from a coaching standpoint, and the crazy thing about Tommy Togiai is they shouted from the rooftops in the preseason about how awesome he was. Usually with a guy usually it's the opposite. Usually they're playing a guy like that, and we're going, what the hell are you doing playing Tommy Togiai all the time? But they themselves, Nico Ryan said, this guy's the most consistent guy on the team. And then in the weirdest sequence of events, he's inactive, gets a contract extension, and then is inactive again. Like, there's some weird shit going on with this team this year sometimes, but that's number one. The kickoff return thing is so weird too, because it wasn't just that you got Tremont Smith and Damian Pierce out there. They were obviously fielding a ton of kickoffs in the first half of that game because they received the opening kickoff, and then the Jags couldn't stop scoring on them because they kept giving the ball to them. It was like they had a lotto ping pong ball machine on the sideline, and they were just picking 2 names out of the hat. I was expecting Ursery to go return kicks at some point because his ping pong ball came out. So that was weird. On the positive side, I loved the way that they handled the last drive of the game, both from a philosophical standpoint and from a play calling standpoint, that they decided to themselves first that they could run the ball enough against that team to be able to go, okay, we're going to turn this into this is it. And that was with 6 minutes left in the game. They got that ball back. And obviously you got to convert that 3rd and 10 to Dalton Schultz for any of this stuff to even matter. But I thought that was a huge throw by Davis Mills. And then once they were out from underneath the shadows of their own goalpost, they really kind of methodically put their minds to, hey, this team's on the ropes. I felt like the Jags were tired at the end of that 4th quarter. They were on the field a ton because the Texans defense was able to get 3 and outs there in the 4th quarter. And Nick Caley took advantage of it. So I love the play calling that they had in that quarter. I love the way they ran the football. I thought the fact that they flipped the script and that Woody Marks was the guy they were leaning on bell cow style, and that Nick Chubb was the change of pace, I thought really worked out well. The Chubb only had 5 carries in the game, probably had some fresh legs. So from a positive, I loved everything about the way that they handled that last drive of the football game.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I love the result, but I was kind of thinking that, man, do they need to play a little faster given the fact that they have 1 timeout? And I was shocked that they were still able to run the ball. So I thought the result was solid. I can't believe they were able to move the chains on the ground like they did at that point. That was as impressive as you can imagine. I don't even know how you have the guts to do that at that point. So I would be
but Landry, Caley is delusional about what they are in the run game. His delusion probably benefited him in that case, where he gets up in front of the podium. I mean, you the two of you are there every press conference. He's up there saying, what's your, someone asked, what's the DNA of your offense? And he's like, downhill physical running. The fact that the guy thought that actually came in handy in this game, where against this team, they actually could be a physical downhill running team that was burning clock.
Well, and what you said, Sean, you said, hey, it looked like the Jaguars were a little tired. Trent Brown said as much, and that's a guy who hadn't played football in 14 months.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, even though I hadn't played a lot, I felt fresher than the guys we were playing. Like, we noticed we had worn on them to that point. So, to notice that, and I guess still have the delusion that you can go ahead and take advantage of that and it to work out. I, like Landry, was wondering, okay, are they going to try to make this the final drive? Like, this is the football game. And it became pretty apparent pretty quick that they were content, if this thing kept going well, to make that the final drive, or their final offensive drive, I guess I should say, of the game. And, once it got close to the 2-minute warning, there was no turning back. You didn't have enough time to stop the clock, and you had to get it in. And sure enough, they did on the legs of Davis Mills.
Yep. No doubt. Hey, let's mix in a couple folks from the chat before we get to kind of looking ahead, not just to the Titans game, but to the rest of the season. This is from Clayton in Oak Forest. Cody makes a good point. The question is, and I don't know what point this is going back to, so I apologize. But the question is, do we sign CJ? Is he elite enough, or do we end up with a little bit better than what the Jags have for quarterback? If anything, I'm hoping for, guys, these last, 8 games of the season, or 4 and 5, 8 games of the season, that whatever is going on the field, it's rescuing us from Do we or do we not extend CJ Stroud in the offseason? I just want to focus on football and what's happening over these next 8 weeks.
Yeah, I would love a definitive answer, and hopefully you're in a competitive enough run through this schedule where you're not in full on evaluation mode of literally everybody for the next season. So
Yeah.
we'll see how these next few weeks and this next month plus kind of plays out, because that really is going to kind of land them where they need to go, with finally getting able to play the Indianapolis Colts, that showing up on their schedule, and Buffalo on a short week after this Tennessee one. It could be intriguing. Yeah, you would love to have an answer one way or the other. Hopefully you're having a good answer in the midst of a promising back end of the season.
Right. And it's a good point to note that. Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Reg. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good point to note, like the way that this schedule tracks, where you're going to have some interesting. I feel like every game, there's been so many yardstick games, but you're going to have some more, at least when it comes to that. Plus, the thing that is deeply frustrating, in as much as this, Davis Mills' performance in this game is like an immediate savior for jobs, I still am not sure how confident and comfortable you are that this will be your offense going forward. So that also kind of, stymies some of your evaluation process on the quarterback with what you're doing here. Obviously, like, your raw talent is part of what you're talking about, but clearly we can't run away from the fact that this is now another offense that you're trying to see this quarterback in, which kind of makes it tough to do some of the evaluation and get a good feel for what you're looking at.
No, I mean, I think the problems that you had on offense still exist. They haven't been solved, because we saw CJ Stroud run this offense, and they were the worst red zone offense in the league. And until we see CJ Stroud do what Davis Mills was able to do in the fourth quarter of yesterday, those problems still exist. I will say the schedule is kind of interestingly laid out for him, in that I actually feel like the Tennessee game, I'm starting to feel like it could be a trap game, which is kind of crazy. Cody rolls his eyes, but I go back to 2020 when the Titans were one of the best teams in the league and the Texans were coming off a bye and they somehow won the game. You got to be a little bit careful. But the Buffalo game, I feel a lot better than. And there were a couple of things that happened last week with Buffalo where I kind of like raised the eyebrows a little bit. First of all, we've seen Nico make Josh Allen just look terrible last year. And second of all, not only did Buffalo get their ass kicked by Miami, it was 4 days after they were the highest bidder for Jalen Waddle and Quinnen Williams, according to the reports. So that kind of shows how desperate Buffalo is, to where they're offering division opponents heavy trade packages for guys, not just on offense. It'd be one thing if you just needed a receiver, but also on defense. So I see that, and I just wonder, quick game on Thursday, could that be? So the next couple of games kind of I look at a little bit different. The other thing is this. The Indianapolis game, it might end up actually being the first one. It might end up being kind of a 2-for-1, because I don't think the Texans are going to catch the Colts in the division race. But I think if you just win that first game, you might beat them twice and then still win the division because of the final week. I keep bringing this up, but I do think it's something to keep a close eye on, where if you just beat them one time and improve your wild card standings and where you're at, the last week of the season, they might have the division wrapped up. And much like we just went back to 2020, the year before that in 2019, the Texans laid down for the Titans, and the Titans ended up beating the Texans to get into the playoffs. So the schedule is actually kind of laid out nicely. I think if you had switched when they played the Jags and Colts in the standings, there's a chance this season's already over. But now with what it is, you only kind of have to just beat Indianapolis once. And the one thing the Texans can do, they can make quarterbacks look bad and they can stop the run. It's laid out decently for them, given how they started out at 0-3 and 5-5 with what we pointed to. They got a good chance.
I love the hope. I love the hope. I mean, Landry was the originator of get to 5-5 and keep the season alive, and he's laid out another path of hope. The path of hope by Landry Locker coming to
the most hopeful individual that I know on the face of the earth. Landry Locker lays out the path for hope. The thing that concerns me about the Titans game this weekend, I think I saw Greg Rajan from the Chronicle tweet this today, is that this is the biggest spread the Texans have had on a game. The only time the Texans have been as big a favorite, they're an 8-point favorite right now against the Titans. At least it opened that. I haven't seen if the line's moved yet at all, but they opened as an 8-point favorite. The only two bigger spreads than that over the last couple decades, the Texans were a double-digit favorite against the St. Louis Rams back in 2009, beat them by 3. And then they were a double-digit favorite against the Jets in 2012, and they won that game by 1 score. That was a game where Brian Cushing sustained.
The line at?
Huh?
What does he have the line at? This line?
Well, he retweeted a tweet of mine that said Tennessee +8.
Oh, okay.
Titans +8.
I've seen it down to 7 now.
Okay, yeah, so it might have moved. Yeah, so I concede it might have moved. But so Greg Rajan said the only 2 bigger spreads were those 2 games. And those were obviously games that had a much better offense for the Texans than this one here. You're talking about 2009 where Schaub led the league in passing yards, and then 2012, which was a team that people thought could go to the Super Bowl that year. So I'm concerned about that this is not a Texans team. This iteration of the Texans is not a team that's used to being a big favorite on the road. That matters to me. Like the role that you're playing in that game and the vibe of the game, especially in the division, even though the Titans are a bad team, that matters to me. From a big picture season standpoint, when they were 3-5 last week, and we're trying to cobble together a path to get to 10-7, we might have even done this on this stream. But I thought there were 4 must-win games, and they've won 1 of them. I thought last week's game was a must-win to get to 10-7. The Jags game, which they won, and now this game this week, obviously you're an 8-point favorite on the road. You got to win that game. And then the 2 easier home games with Arizona and Vegas. You cannot lose any of those games. That gets you to 7. And then you got to win 3 of the other 5, which are the 2 Indianapolis games, the home game against Buffalo, at Kansas City, and at the Chargers. I've conceded, and I don't think they're going to win the Kansas City game on Sunday Night Football in December in Kansas City. I am conceding that game. I'll concede a split with Indianapolis, which means you got to beat Buffalo and you got to beat the Chargers. I think those are 2 doable things, but this team has given themselves 0 margin for error. 0 margin for error. You got to win those must wins, and then you have obviously mathematically no choice but to go 3-2 in those other games.
Yeah, and
I just love how Sean he's like, well, you take care of this, you do that, you got a chance in this game against this opponent, and then he's like also like kind of worried about the Tennessee Titans.
there you go.
Little
like
bit.
what are we doing here?
Little
The
bit.
Titans, have we not watched them like just
They-
throw up all over themselves?
Do you
I mean,
watch the
embarrassment to
NFL,
football?
Cody?
Is this
Anybody
the
can
Bills?
beat anybody.
Is this the Bills Collective from a week ago talking about the Dolphins? Is that what I'm watching right now?
No, I can do you one better. How about the Browns Collective talking about the Jets that just sold themselves off for parts, right? Like that's where you have to go there. However, the Titans have also sold themselves off to parts, and I hear you on talking about the line. The I guess odd beauty that I think you could take from this is style points is out the window, man. Just win, baby. Like that's where they are, as ugly as it can be. Because I think none of us are deluding ourselves and thinking that this is a team that'll win pretty, right? They're gonna have to do it a few times for us to get on that bandwagon. Can they just get W's? Can they scrap it out? Can they claw it out? Can they sand in people's eyes? Like this is just will your way, hook or crook, to get a victory. And I don't care if it looks ugly in Nashville.
I just love this spot for the Texans. You either got Davis Mills feeling himself coming off of this with a whole nother week to kind of, do what he does with this offense, or you got CJ coming in trying to remind people that he's awesome. Like, I just love this spot for the Texans.
Yeah, well, the Titans are a dog shit team. Nobody's arguing that the Titans are a good football team. It's just it's the NFL. Like you just came off a huge emotional win, a comeback win against the Jags that saved your season, and you've got the Bills coming up the next week, this is an easy look. I don't care it's a division game. This is as look ahead as it gets when it comes to the NFL. Is dog shit Titans, Bills coming up next week. That's what concerns me. I know who the better team is in this. I know which way the wind's blowing and all this. It's just it's the NFL.
Can I tell you the thing actually outside, like with the Titans game, and it's not about the Titans at all. It's just the thing that I consistently have to think about with this Texans team. When they find an answer, are they content to stick with it? That's actually the problem, right? Like there's a lot of things that you go, oh, these are interesting answers that they might have had. Will they throw them away next week? Because they've done that twice before.
Nick Chubb, 25 carries coming up on Sunday. Book it. Oh, take the more than on Prize Picks on Nick Chubb carries. He's carried the ball 25 times.
The one thing that I hope CJ Stroud kind of learns from Davis Mills, and I didn't mention this when I was talking about it. When he's not open, he's still open. Like Nico Collins, a season high 15 targets. It's fine. It's fine. Just force it to Nico Collins and then work around that. I thought that was a good job by Davis Mills for feeding the beast. And I know the stats can be kind of misleading because of the Hail Mary at the end, but even then he was a complete tone setter, and the ball was forced to him, I thought, an appropriate amount of times.
Yeah, you do not have to throw the ball to Xavier Hutchinson. That is not a requirement.
Was he even on the field on Sunday?
Sean, he played 50% of the snaps.
He did?
Yes.
Okay. Did he get targeted one time?
No.
Okay.
Which was awesome. They threw the ball to Jaden Higgins.
Yeah. Yeah. No disrespect. I like Xavier Hutchinson fine. He seems like a swell fella, but I like the way they move the ball I like the other two Iowa State guys.
That's the biggest insult that you can give someone is he's a nice guy. That's usually not good.
He's a nice guy. I don't know what you're saying, Andrew.
You always then break down the worst things about him. Like that they're a nice guy is like that's the worst.
I tell people all the time that you're a nice guy. All right, just so you know.
Damn. You say he got nothing else comes to mind for you besides. Yeah, you're pretty nice.
I rest my case.
Touche.
That's a man after my own heart. I'd much rather be right in this moment.
That was the right answer right there. All right. Before we get out of here, Tennessee coming up on Sunday. Do you guys think that CJ Stroud plays in this game? And my follow-up to that would be, even if he can play in this game, should he play in this game?
I do wonder, do you want him to play 2 games in 5 days, or do you want to give him the extra 4 days? I don't think they would admit that they probably feel like they can beat the Titans with Davis Mills, but I think they might feel that way. I would be good with it because with him not playing, because I just think get him ready for Thursday night against Buffalo. Don't make him get on a plane. Just let him relax, chill, and then get ready for Buffalo and watch. That's how I would approach it. I don't know if they're going to do that. He's still in the protocol, but we'll keep an eye on that. He was in the building today, but I would save him for Thursday night against Buffalo. That's me though.
Yeah, I don't think that he will actually clear the protocol, but if he does, I do think that he might benefit from getting some mental reps as opposed to being out there again. Like there's the physical grind that's obvious there. I do think also Landry, you talking about the idea of, hey, sometimes when he's open or he's covered, he's actually open. I think that is like a strict adherence to what the rules say I should do in this system. And I want to see him at some point for it to click with him that, hey man, you can freestyle a little bit and make it your own. And I do wonder if sitting off and seeing this continue to happen might help him in getting to that point where he says F it sometimes, because sometimes you need to F it.
I know Brian Daboll's got a lot of free time on his hands, and he probably is very aware of the concussion protocol. Can you make it last longer? I know Daboll tried to speed it up, but can you make the protocol last longer? I'm very much in favor of CJ Stroud missing the Titans game, because I want Davis Mills redemption opportunity after they screwed him 2 years ago and played Case Keenum. I want Davis Mills to get some redemption against this piece of crap franchise that plays football in Tennessee.
Someone is forgetting the visual from the Titans game in Week 18 last year, where Davis came in for CJ, tried to dive over the pile near the goal line, landed on his face, and showed off just how slinky his neck is when he landed on his face with his body perpendicular to the ground. That happened in Nashville, Cody.
I don't live in the past, Sean. I live in the future. In the future,
wait, how's that work?
Sunday is Davis Mills lighting the Titans up.
What up the past?
What kind of revenge games don't live in the past?
2023 is the past.
Yeah. You just went back 2 years, Doc.
I don't live in the near past. I live in the far past.
Just dropped a Doc Emmett Brown on you. Oh, my God.
That's too recent to be the past.
It's in this weird purgatory of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. All right, boys. Well, this was a whole lot of fun here on a Monday night. We'll be back next Monday night, same time, same place. And let's do it. Let's get a win. Let's get to the 5-5 that we've all been hoping for since the 0-3 start, right?
Davis Mills getting the hose, man. Shout out to Davis.
Hose,
There
yes.
you go.
Let's do it. All right. So, hey, we appreciate all of you tuning in. Before you get out of here, a couple things. Reminder, give us a like, give us a subscribe here on the Texans Collective. Download Prize Picks is a great way to make the football games, the basketball games, all the sports going on this time of year a whole lot more fun. Reggie's pointing at it right there. User code Texans. You're going to get $50 in bonus lineups for a $5 lineup that you don't even need to win. You can lose it and you're still going to get the $50. So you can play Prize Picks and win up to 2,000 times your money. Turn $10 into 20,000 bucks with the promo code Texans on Prize Picks. So for Landry Locker, right there, Locker Room with Landry Locker and SNL, Reggie Atatula in the loop, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sports Radio 610. And of course, Cody Stutes, Houston Football with Cody Stutes and SNL as well. I'm Sean Pendergast, one half of Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on weekdays. We appreciate all of you tuning in tonight. We'll be back next Monday night, hopefully talking about a 5-5 record for the Houston Texans. So we'll see you all then. Have a great week. Enjoy the game on Sunday. And Cody, I think you know what to do right now. End stream.